You boys are in a minefield.
Well, do you have a map?
Map's right here.
Up in my...
Oh, God.
Two kids ventured into someone else's backyard and retrieved a drone. Unexpectedly, an old man rushed out and ordered them to stay put and not move. The two brothers hurriedly explained that they meant no harm. They were just retrieving their lost drone and they were ready to leave, but completely frightened the old man. It turned out the old man had buried landmines all over the yard due to his paranoia. The two kids had inadvertently walked into it safely, which had already depleted half of their lifetime's luck. The two kids were extremely scared, but the old man confidently stated that every landmine was placed by his own hands, and the map was all in his head.
Map's right here.
Up in my...
The brothers were dumbfounded, and then the older brother realized he was hit by shrapnel and collapsed, losing consciousness. The younger brother quickly dialed 911, but even the arriving firefighters were helpless. There were too many landmines in the yard, and entering recklessly would be suicidal. As a last resort, the captain decided to take a gamble and extend the aerial ladder truck to its maximum length. Led by the captain along with a team member with first aid experience, they proceeded to rescue. The captain threw prepared packages on the ground, luckily without any explosions. He then made markings and continued to throw packages, repeating the process. The teammates behind were all sweating nervously, but just as the two were about to reach him, everyone was stunned, thinking the captain had met with an accident. When the smoke cleared, the captain emerged unscathed. They quickly reached the injured boy, and upon examination, it was found that shrapnel had cut the boy's femoral artery. Under the medic's command, the firefighters began chest compressions. Sure enough, the boy regained consciousness. Just at that moment, the bomb disposal team arrived. Unfortunately, the original homeowner was already in pieces, beyond salvation. A man is being dragged along by a plane flying at an altitude of 10,000 meters, leaving even firefighters stunned. A 70-year-old hot girl seeking thrills, looking out into the 10,000-meter high sky. The hot girl is now thrilled, while her daughter is too scared to even breathe. The cabin door slowly opens, but the plane suddenly jolts. All three are tossed upside down. The instructor passes out instantly. The anxious daughter tries to grab the instructor, but accidentally opens his parachute pack. The man is instantly thrown out, luckily caught by the cabin harness. Watching this scene, even the firefighters are bewildered. The captain contacts the pilot via radio and instructs the pilot to reduce altitude and fly against the wind. Then he positions two firefighters on top of the fire truck. As the plane approaches overhead, they seize the opportunity to grab the man hanging from the tail of the aircraft.
Coming in hot behind us. That's it, another 150 feet.
Lower, lower, lower. Steady. That's it, we're almost there.
Almost there. A little lower.
Come on. All right, Cap. Get steady. Right there. Okay. Come on. Go!
They successfully rescue the man. After examination, the instructor is found to be unharmed physically. However, this experience may leave him deeply scarred psychologically. The man slipped and sat directly on the nozzle of the air pump. His body gradually inflated, looking like a balloon. It seemed like he was about to explode. Staff quickly called for help. Firefighters arrived promptly. The man was unconscious. They lifted him off the nozzle onto the ground. At this point, he had shallow breathing and a rapid heart rate. What made it trickier was that the needle couldn't pierce his skin, and there was no way to oxygenate him due to the pressure inside his body. His condition worsened. Buck immediately unbuttoned the man's shirt, and a team member made a small hole in his t-shirt. Then they inserted the needle directly into his chest, releasing the gas instantly. The man's body deflated, and he regained consciousness immediately. Finally, the firefighters put him on the ambulance, and he kept farting to release the remaining gas.
Pressure's gotta go somewhere.
It always does.
An 82-year-old man has unexpectedly contracted a sexually transmitted disease. Several elderly ladies in the nursing home have had relations with him. Even the old grandpas have been affected. Just now, the rescue center received a distress call. The old man's daughter said her father had locked himself in his room, and the son found something on his father's stomach, appearing like a scar or ulcer. Seeing the firefighters unable to communicate with the old man, the captain instructed his team to set up a ladder and enter through the window, while the son distracted his father's attention. Taking advantage of the distraction, Chimney jumped into the room through the window. Chimney inspected and found the things on the old man's stomach weren't rashes. They were present below as well. He reluctantly pulled down the old man's pants.
Oh, what is that?
Those who had relations with him are all in trouble. The son bravely asked who had relations with his dad. After a brief silence, an elderly lady stood up, followed by the second, third, and the 1,000th. Finally, even the old grandpas stood up. At this point, the other grandpas in the room couldn't sit still anymore. The man just took a pee, leading to the collapse of an entire row of shelves, burying himself underneath, narrowly escaping death. In order to improve employee productivity, the supervisor suspended the use of the restroom, guarding the restroom door at all times. This really frustrated the man who needed to pee frequently. At that moment, an intelligent robot happened to block the man's path. The man suddenly decided to let it flow. His expression showed how relieving it felt. The robot malfunctioned, choking on his urine, cursing and belching as it spun around. The man paid no attention to this. But next, the robot suddenly crashed into the shelves, immediately triggering a chain reaction.
Oh, I'm fired.
Firefighters soon arrived at the scene. They saw the man motionless, buried under the heavy shelves. At this point, the man's blood pressure dropped, heart rate increased. The firefighters quickly pulled him out, but suddenly a stream of blood gushed out. The crew medic immediately applied a tourniquet, barely stopping the bleeding. So the question is, will the man develop psychological trauma when peeing in the future? He roasted himself alive on the sunbed. When the rescuers performed CPR on him, his skin stuck directly to their hands. Perhaps it's karma at work for the man's actions. It all started a day ago. A gym owner brought his dog to the gym. He parked and left the dog locked in the car. One of his employees happened to see and warned him not to leave the dog in the car, as it could overheat and die. The man brushed it off, saying it was only 21 degrees that day, and the dog would be fine. The employee insisted the temperature in the car could reach 38 degrees. Very impatiently told her to mind her own business and go to work. Then he walked away. The woman, furious, stormed into the gym, grabbed a dumbbell in front of the man, and left. The man, mid-workout, was clueless about her intentions. Another female employee approached him and said the timer on the sunbed was broken and needed fixing, but the man insisted it was fine. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass rang out, and the man dashed outside. He saw his car window shattered. The woman had taken the dog out and returned it the man. After a moment of shock, he angrily fired the woman. The gym owner roasted himself alive on the sunbed. As the rescuers performed CPR on him, his skin stuck directly to their hands.
Nope, he's gone.
The fired female employee came to collect her pay the next day and found him lying on the sunbed, cooked to perfection. She hurriedly dialed for help. The rescuers asked her how long the man had been there. She said it could have been 2 to 3 hours. Since he was the boss, he always arrived a couple of hours before opening. What surprised them was that the man was still alive, and the reason he couldn't climb out of the sunbed, it turns out he had a stroke from taking steroids in his workout supplements. In other words, he consciously turned himself into a sausage.
Agent VTech.
Starting compressions.
The filial son, taking advantage of his father's slumber, together with his mother, dug a pit and secretly buried his father alive. Only when the father woke up did he realize he was buried in sand up to his neck, with only his head exposed. This brought great satisfaction to the mother and son, even splashing water on the man in celebration. Suddenly, lightning struck, causing panic. To their surprise, the sand on the father's body had been heated to form glass, with blood seeping out. The rescue team arrived swiftly, finding the man losing blood rapidly with dropping blood pressure. They carefully shattered the glass and removed it, fearing accidental harm. Yet they discovered a shard piercing his carotid artery. While attending to his wounds and continuing to dig, they were startled as blood gushed from his arm. The mother and son grew anxious, but the team managed to stop the bleeding and bandage him, averting further danger. With the man safely rescued, the mother and son finally breathed a sigh of relief, realizing the peril of their game with sand.